Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Top Industry Trends and Customer Experience video series. My name is Carlton Dossman. I'll be hosting things today. I'm the head of retail and consumer goods in the US for Microsoft, which is basically the field organization that supports some marquee customers in the space. I'm joined by Ron Thurston, who will be going through this with us. He's got 30 years of experience in retail, co-founder of OSSY back in 2023, has a book, I think it's called Retail Pride, Amazon bestseller. Congratulations on that. And he hosts Retail in America podcast. All those credentials are amazing, but I think I got to start first with, as I was getting to know you better, tell me what it's like to live over a year in an Airstream, traveling across the country, talking to retail folks.
Thanks, Carlton. You know, what I found with Retail Pride, the reason I wrote Retail Pride after a long tenure running stores was this idea of speaking and celebrating the front lines. And I couldn't think of a better way to celebrate those people than to go out on the road and meet them and find them in small cities, big cities, find founders, find people who are really doing important work in retail and host them on the podcast, which, by the way, I did all live interviews in person inside the Airstream. So the Airstream functioned as my home. It functioned as a podcast studio. It functioned really well on Instagram. You know, just I had such a joy. It was over a year and across 30 states and hundreds of conversations with frontline retail teams and executives to really just see what the story is after, you know, a pretty tumultuous last few years. And it was the highlight of my life, for sure.
I can only imagine. What an experience. Maybe your next stop is a reality television show on your next adventure across the country. But let's jump into things. I'd love to get your perspective on the emerging customer trends that you believe will be the most significant and for the future of, you know, customer experience. So maybe what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I think, Carlton, there are some big, really common themes that I hear around kind of this emerging trend. One is ongoing personalization and customization. So whether you are a marketer, whether you are a retailer, an executive, a designer, you know, every part of our industry that touches retail is speaking about personalization and customization. And that can show up in many different ways, some of which is in, you know, how we track purchase history, how we identify who you are in the store, even if you don't make a purchase, how we do outreach to you, clienteling, how we make sure that your experience is as personal and customized as possible. And I think this is an output of you know, many years of kind of generic online shopping with a very high touch store complement. And so how do we make sure that those are working together? And you know, in the next phase would really be that seamless omni-channel experience. And you know, everyone talks about this. This is, you know, omni-channel is the you know, probably former buzzword. There's some new buzzwords, but this is one where how does it become seamless? And it becomes seamless only when it's customized. And that means that it is, you understand the journey, you celebrate the customer at every touch point of where they engage with the brand. What is the follow-up? What's that new customer acquisition look like? All of this is so critical to this full ecosystem of a customer's experience with your brand.
Right. Well, and the access to so much information and data. When you think about social, when you think about just normal consumer data that you're collecting, you know, personalization is incredible. We talk to our customers a lot about that. But I think culture is fascinating when you think about retail brands and consumer experience. And, you know, I just want your thoughts on, you know, leadership, instilling that culture, making it, you know, systemic throughout the organization, regardless of function, bringing it to the, you know, the consumer itself. What are your thoughts around that?
Yeah, I love this topic because it's so influential on the employee experience side, and the employee experience side in retail has direct influence into the customer experience. So we know that you walk into any retail store, doesn't matter price point, design, product, a team that is fully engaged and really proud of what they do is likely to engage with customers at a very high level, and the customer feels it. You know when you are having that experience. And so culture at the company level says, I'm going to ensure that everyone that works in this organization, to the best of my ability, has an incredible experience. And I believe that actually starts before they even work for the brand. Some of that often as a customer, everyone here can add value to the store experience and the customer experience and the brand and the future of it. And I love where this conversation is going right now.
When I talk to customers and what I think about when we align Microsoft to these retailers and CPG companies, we think about, the sense of purpose that comes and is established from the leaders. And we've got a strong sense of purpose in what we do. We sell technology, but we understand why we're doing that. And we actually embed that into our activities. And we align really well with organizations that have that same purpose-driven culture that goes from top all the way down and extends out into the consumers. And you really see that. And I think part of that is also measuring yourself on, getting feedback from customers and understanding whether or not you truly are showing up the way you intend to. But it's fascinating. I think it's going to get even more and more. I mean, there's so much out there that's driving things around culture. Now it's such a hot topic in every industry, but in particular ours.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, like, how at Microsoft, how is that showing up in AI and chat and all of the different tools that we've learned a lot about that in the last year? How's that?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's taken the market by storm. You can't go anywhere without something being discussed as AI, and we're running on a hamster wheel trying to help educate our customers and the industry about the impact of AI. And it's all, it's greatness, and Microsoft's well positioned around that.
Yeah, and I love the idea. And there are a lot of conversations. How does AI make your retail experience better? And there's so many ways. And some of that is your recommendations. Some of it is understanding inventory. Some of it could be around delivery. Some of it, around people. And so then I start to think about training and development. Thank you to Microsoft and for you for doing this with me. But going into the new year, and I've said this maybe the last 3, but I'm going to say it again for 2024. We've never needed to be at our best more than we do right now. Mm-hmm. And that's from people, from technology, from product and assortment. The experiences that the customer expects and wants from all of our brands, it is really high. And at the same time, there are challenges around, like, potentially business, just and budgets and such. So we have to be fine-tuned at our best, peak performance, with the right tools in place to win 2024. And that I think requires great experience. It requires great tools. But if you have all of that, I'm really excited about the next year.
Well, I tell you, this has been a lot of fun, incredibly insightful. I appreciate you joining us today. I think the viewers out there learned a lot. I know I learned a lot. And I have to say, I need to know next time you're on this Airstream road trip, because I'm going to find you somewhere at a city nearby, and I'm going to check this out. So anyway, appreciate the time today and look forward to reconnecting soon.
Thank you. Same to you.
All right.